Now we're going to discuss the bass drum pedal, starting with looking at the tension and the range of movement of the bass drum beater. You can see that it's flapping at a rather slow rate of speed. It's because I have the spring adjusted pretty relaxed. Generally, if you tension the spring tight, you're going to have to use more tension to play the bass drum. If it's more relaxed, then you can relax. So if you want more tension, you can just position your foot up and down the pedal. If you move your toe toward the heel plate and try to play with your heel up, the pedal feels much stiffer than if you move your toe up toward the middle and then up toward here. So the important thing to realize is that you want to change the stroke based upon the volume. I'm going to start by talking about the technique that's referred to as feathering. The word should give you an idea that it's pretty darn soft. And so where that comes from is just tapping the bass drum lightly to add a little bottom to the time. If you're playing funk beats and rock beats, the bass drum and the snare drum is probably going to be louder in the mix. In jazz music, you want the ride cymbal to be the very dominant force. The hi-hat is right there blended with the ride with a nice snap. The snare drum is generally right there, but maybe a little softer in terms of volume. And the bass drum is the softest of all, and that's why they call it feathering. I'm going to demonstrate playing some time with and without the bass drum to explain and give you a really clear audio example of why the bass drum is feathered. What it does is it adds bottom end to the sound of the instrument. So here it is with the bass drum playing, then I'll take it out and then I'll bring it back in. And I think you're going to notice how it sounds a little thinner when the bass drum is not feathering, and then when I bring it back in, it makes the groove sound a little fuller. So that's the big reason. Some people don't really understand, why do you feather? Oh, that's something they used to do back in the day. Well, actually, it's something that's still done to this day for that very purpose. It just adds a nice little low ends. What I have on my drum here is a piece of this Dr. Schultz moleskin. It's a little thicker, and what it does is it softens the attack so you get more of a pillowy tone. I'm trying to mirror this finger off of the string on the string bass. Boom, boom, a really nice round sound. So by having a little extra padding, it's important, in my opinion, to have an all felt beater. It's fashionable for many pedals today to have a plastic beater with a little bit of felt on it. Those are generally heavy because of the plastic, and the sound is more pointed and not quite as round. So there's such a thing as too much weight, and it produces too much sound on the bass drum. So it's important to keep that in mind. This bass drum is 18 inches, which is generally more of a combo size, but it does work in big bands because I have the drum tuned lower. As far as the drum's tuning, I have a felt strip attached to this head and nothing inside the bass drum at all, nothing touching the front head. And part of the reason I'm able to get a nice sound is due to the nature of the drum heads. As you see on my snare and my toms, as well as the bass drum, I use the Remo Fiberskin 3 drum heads, and they are the Diplomat weight, which is the thinner weight. So they're designed to sound like an old calfskin head. So you get these warmer, darker tones. So the bass drum has a nice tone quality with this, and just a little bit of felt muffling so it doesn't ring like a concert bass drum. It's important not to have a bunch of muffling inside the drum, like pillows and sheets, because then you start to really take away all the natural low-end tone of the drum, and the sound is way too short. If you want to shorten the tone, you can do a dead stroke. You can bury the beater. Not something that always works so well when both heads are fully intact and there's no hole on the front head. However, it does work if you need a shorter sound. I prefer more of a resonant tone so that the sound really lasts between quarter notes. So make sure that your spring tension is relaxed. As far as playing loud, I use what's called a heel up technique and drop my leg. The term I was taught was dropping bombs. I saw an old video clip of Gene Krupa playing, and he would keep the feathering going, and then when he wanted accents, he would raise and drop his whole leg, something like this. The main thing I'm trying to do is release the beater. You wouldn't play a tom and a snare and bury your stick into the surface because it wouldn't sound very good. A lot of drummers will plant or mash the beater into the head mainly because of balance and stability. If you play heel down, then you can relax your leg and plant more of your weight on the heel and play a stroke that allows the beater to relax and come off and get a nice sound. If you do play heel up, it's important to play toward the center of the pedal. There is a sweet spot. If you start here and you start moving your foot down the pedal, you'll feel it. You go too far, oh, that's too stiff. So it's somewhere in the middle, and I'll use that heel up technique for more of the backbeat stuff where I want a little more weight. So I drop my leg. It makes me feel like I'm kind of moving into the groove a little bit more for that kind of bass drum, snare drum type of groove playing. So hopefully that covers some of the important things. Make sure you got a quality pedal and that everything functions, and then the drummer will actually have a chance to play well.